'tis the season to be jolly. I know I certainly am, because I have an early Christmas gift. The gift of vision. My glasses aren't looking as scuffed as they used to. You don't see the little crust marks around, but I kind of do have a -100 debuff of looking like Cookie from Ned Declassified, but that's least of my worries. The thing that ruined Christmas for me this year is the fact that I came across a movie called Santa Girl that came out last year. It is a C-tier movie that has B-tier actors. I mean, Ned from Ned Declassified again. Like, how do I keep doing this? This is my third movie review, and I have Ned twice. What the heck? And then we have Harper from Wizards of Waverly Place. Huh? Maybe if I wrote a letter to Santa, he will actually grant my wish of eradicating this movie's existence from Earth. And according to IMDb, they are verifying that this is garbage. So, let's get right into it. The movie starts off like any other generic holiday movie. Sweeping shots, pans, interior, fancy little... Wait, why are we in the Wizarding World? I mean, yeah, Harper's here, but do we have to really beat the dead horse? But then 2 seconds later, we're looking at a 1920s camera. What? How are we gonna go from magic to old? Let's just go on. Basically, the movie starts off with one of the elves bringing Cassie her morning breakfast. This is a 5-year-old's morning breakfast. How is she 18? Why is she 18? Imagine waking up to a plate of Twizzlers, M&Ms, just scattered along the... You know what? That sounds great. But basically, Cassie starts her day off super grumpy. Oh yeah, this is Cassie, Santa Claus's daughter. And basically her elf is like, you've got this to do, you got this to do, you got this to do, you got this to do. Her father is preparing her to own the company one day. So she's just going around doing things her dad would normally do. While she's doing her thing for the day, her father walks in.
Here we go.
Of course, we have to have a multiple shot reveal of Santa Claus. He looks like a corporate version of Santa Claus. But basically, he's just there to remind his daughter of, hey, this is what you're gonna own eventually. Learn how to control it. And this interaction really sets up the movie for the type of comedy that's going to be presented.
Dad, I want to travel, see the world.
You'll see the world plenty once you take over. You'll see it all in one night, once a year.
Dad, I want to find myself.
Hey, let me help you out. There you are, you're Cassandra Claus. You're at the North Pole, you're in your father's workshop, and it's where you're meant to be.
AKA dad jokes. This movie is riddled with dad jokes. I'm pretty sure that's a tradition of holiday movies to be riddled with dad jokes, but dear God.
There you are, you're Cassandra Claus.
But before her father leaves, he's like, hey, we got a banquet tonight with the Tooth Fairy. As soon as this line gets mentioned in the movie, my mind immediately went to The Guardians, the animated movie The Guardians. One thing about Santa Girl, it feels like the writer took the whole entire world of The Guardians and trickled it into Santa Girl somehow in some way. And I really don't think it's by coincidence. Anyways, but before we enter the banquet scene, Cassie's elf brings in a letter for Cassie, and da-na-na-na, it's actually her college acceptance letter. Because she's been applying to colleges, actually maybe a singular college, and getting in. I don't understand how a female from the North Pole learning North Pole education equates to human college, but it somehow does. But she's going to college. And now it's time for the banquet. Not even arguably the most useless scene in the entire movie. The exposition that's supposed to happen a little bit into the banquet could have happened at any point. The banquet scene is probably only there for real life Rondissimo to even exist. You think I'm lying right now, but I'm not. You cannot tell me that is not real life Rondissimo. He has the same energy of real life Rondissimo. Okay, but they kind of do him dirty when he starts to fly, like... What are those goofy effects, though? Yikes. The banquet scene was only there for Cassie to reveal that she got into a college. And then her father not to say whether or not she's allowed to go. But then the next day rolls over and he says, yeah, sure, you're allowed to go as long as your elf comes with you. Like, we really didn't need the banquet scene at all. I think it was just to fulfill the diehard Timmy Turner fans to create this character, honestly. Then cue the, of course, clothing montage. I immediately skipped this as soon as I knew what it was. But let's get into the most important scene. Jack Frost enters the chat room. Jack Frost and Santa Claus have a meeting. Both of their companies are going to merge on the marriage of his daughter and his son. Jack Frost is there because he's worried about Mr. Claus allowing his daughter going off to human college. He's like, what if she finds somebody? And Santa Claus is like, I don't know. Then Jack Frost is like, peace, I gotta make sure that his daughter marries my son. All right, it's moving day. Because in every college movie, we have to talk about moving day. Basically, Mr. Claus and Cassie and her elf go on moving day, and we get another dad type beat joke of Mr. Claus like looking at all the boys in the hallway, up and down, left and right, and you're like, you're on my naughty list. Don't look at my daughter. Who are you? Like, like super generic dad joke style of protecting a daughter. And this is exactly when we're reminded that this is a C tier level movie.
What?
Dad.
So small.
That jump cut made me have 2014 YouTube PTSD. Like, the movie has a close-up of Cassie and Mr. Claus, and the elf is supposed to pop in. But I don't know if they couldn't film this on the same day, or the crew members on that day forgot how they shot it and never decided to look back at the footage. But the jump cut is so bad. Anywho, old Saint Nick hands Cassie a fat load of cash. I'm talking rubber banded. You know, rap music video bands, bro. It was just so out of nowhere. It just pulled that out of his pocket like if he was in the cartel. Like, what? Okay, Santa, I know there's a lot of snow up north, but now we know why the elves stay so perked. But after handing the cash, he reminds her to fit in and act like a human and don't use her special powers. I don't know, it's been about 20 minutes into the movie and we have not seen any of her special powers. What is she gonna do? Crinkle her nose and magic? Okay, thanks. At this point in the movie, I feel like Cassie obviously doesn't know what human college students do. So we have to make sure that we follow her everywhere. It felt as though the writer was just trying to recall all of the big events of their college years, like moving into college, going into the bookstore, discovering the coffee stand in the corner of your college campus. Surprisingly, there's no sororities at all presented in this movie, and I could understand, because we can't have her interact with any other female characters that could talk sense into her. Anyways, Cassie's walking to the bookstore with her elf, and lo and behold, she gets hit in the head with a frisbee. Of course, she's generically like on the ground longer than she needs to the point where generic dreamy Blondie walks up.
You okay?
What hit me?
An errant frisbee.
And his name is JR. I don't know why they don't call him Junior throughout this entire movie. They really could have just called him Junior, but we have to call him JR. And that's only because of a spoiler that I'm not going to say yet, but we'll get to it. JR helps her up. He throws a little flirt at her. She's like, ooh, thanks. And mentions that she got to go to the bookstore. And then JR is like, you know what? That's where I was going too. Even though he was the same one that was just playing frisbee with that guy over there. Anyways, the trio makes it to the bookstore. And lo and behold, this is when we finally reach the second B tier actor of this film. Ned! From Ned Declassified. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the scene, Devon. He's arguing to the cashier why his books are so expensive, and just saying that reminded me of college. Okay, maybe these writers were on to something. Like, 10 out of 10 of the time, this is what it is. Basically, the whole interaction is about $500 worth of school books that Ned originally was supposed to have. So, Cassie, being the generous of Mrs. and Mr. Claus, kind of drops the cartel money she got on the table. And it's like, I will pay for that. If I was in Ned's situation, yo. But basically, Ned just looks at her, is completely baffled, but is mentally thinking, oh my gosh, that is my new sugar mama. She is going to be my sugar mama. She just dropped $500 like it was nothing on me for books. She is becoming my sugar mama. So basically, after this point, he kind of starts semi-stalking her. Anyways, after this, Cassie and JR, walk outside. And this is when JR wants to lay the road maps of the land. He basically just straight up tells Cassie that I don't want to be your friend. I want to be more. So let me take you out on a date. JR, I like your moves. But dang, you just met her. You just hit her with a frisbee 2 seconds ago. But before Cassie could, inform him that she's about to be arranged marriage to a random dude, he's like, hold up. Think about your thought. I'll catch you later. Exit JR. Enter new scene. And this montage follows up with her interacting with other people, then her using her magic to get into class, or just her studying. But the montage was just to showcase her everyday life on campus, until we enter the scene of when she's chilling in the library and Ned magically finds her.
I've been looking everywhere for you. You never told me your name.
Was I supposed to?
Yes.
Well, I'm Cassie Claus.
Cassie Claus. Hey, I'm Sam.
Hi.
Wow, I just wanted to say thank you, so much. That's crazy. Who does that? Who helps out a total stranger like that?
But, like a cockblock JR is, he rolls up and basically asks Cassie to be his date right in front of Ned. I wasn't expecting the boldness of this man, but I'm kind of liking it, because he doesn't seem horrible yet. They both don't seem horrible. They're both questionable, but they're not horrible yet. So Ned kind of scrams and gets out of there. And Cassie agrees to the date. So we cut to JR getting ready for the party. But wait, what is that? Is that some white kid scratching a scalp? Oh, it's Jack Frost. But wait, why is Jack Frost in the room with JR? It's his son. It's his whole biological son. His full name is Jack Frost Jr. But if you can recall, about like 20 minutes or so, we were reminded that this is actually the dude that Cassie's supposed to be getting married to. You're here to make sure that your future wife will like you and will not object and find some new dude while she's out in college. Okay. Well then, 2 seconds afterwards, his dad shows him a photo of Ned, him, and Cassie. Okay, what? If you could hire someone else to watch and make sure that the arranged marriage actually follows through, then why don't you just take your findings and report it to her dad? I digress. Alright, I got a question. So, you know when you're watching a coming of age movie and they have the typical party scene, you know, where your protagonist has to go to? Why is there always a walk before the party scene, or like a meeting, a clergy before the party scene? Why is that always a thing? You know, we can't have it set to like a day before when they're all planning out the moment, but no, it has to happen immediately before the characters walk into the party, and then it leads into it. So basically this is just me saying that they have a walk. JR and Cassie have a walk, and they talk, and she at this moment lays it on JR that she is actually in an arranged marriage, and JR respects that. You know, no, like, I understand that JR is purposely there to make sure that she falls for him, you know, the slight manipulation. But looking through Cassie's eyes, that was just so respectable, you know? He's like, all right, word, I'm gonna just be your friend then. No problem. I will lay off, because I enjoy spending time with you, dude. But there's a whole party montage, yada yada yada, we know how it goes. Someone gets liquid in them, and someone gets liquid on them. And now Cassie's outside moping. And that's when Ned comes, trying to pretend that he's not a stalker.
What's going on with you? Are you okay?
Do you know what vodka is?
Yes, I think I've heard of it.
Yeah, okay, so you know it tastes nasty, right?
Sure.
I high-key don't disagree at the vodka take. Think vodka's kinda nasty. But once again, JR comes and cock blocks. You know, this is gonna always happen in the movie. They're either or are gonna be cock blocks to each other. And he brings Cassie back to the party. And now we're gonna cut to the weirdest part of the movie. First of all, the last shot, Ned had a jacket. This shot, Ned has no jacket. You know something's gonna go down when Ned doesn't have a jacket on. Jack Frost comes a nipping at his nose.
Look at me, Sam.
How do you know my name?
I know a lot of things. I know that you're late in paying your college tuition. You're working minimum wage. I also know you're friends with Cassie Claus, and I would like to offer you a job.
Okay, I'm gonna go with a resounding no, because you are freaking me out, dude.
I'm from out of town.
No kidding.
Your friend Cassie's father is worried about her, Sam. She's led a sheltered life, never been out on her own. I would like to tell her father that a nice young man is keeping an eye on her.
That's the job offer? You wanna pay me to watch out for Cassie?
But if you can recall, when Cassie dropped down the $500 on the desk for the books, Ned actually wanted to make sure that he pays her back the 500. Perfect exchange equivalents? Perfect exchange equivalents. But my thing is, this doesn't make sense to me. Why pay this human $500 to spy on this chick when you presented your own son a detective level of a photograph? Maintain and keep the investigators you've got on deck, on hand. Why just pay this college student to spy when you clearly have it under control? Like, this is some real C-tier level villain shit. Like, bro. Anyways, cut from that. JR and Cassie are back at the dorms, and they're alone with each other. They're seeming like they're enjoying it. They're talking about it, you know. JR throwing some flirts here and there, you know, showing a girl, telling a girl that she's pretty, giving that affirmation. And they almost kiss until the elf cock blocks. But all that doesn't matter, because then we cut to Cassie studying algebra in the library. We gotta be reminded of her normal college life, guys. You know, this isn't just all about arranged marriage, sly romance, paying off college debt. She's studying for algebra, and whoop-dee-dee-doo, where else is Ned? Always in the library, apparently. They seem to always end up meeting in the library 9 out of 10 times. But Ned uses some of his cocky charm to then be like, hey, you look like you suck at algebra. Let me teach you. Let me tutor you real quick. Cue tutoring montage. Additionally, with JR sometimes intercutting, because we have to remind the audience that it's not all about Ned's love. It's also JR trying to butt in and fight for Cassie. But basically, after the montage, Cassie reveals to Ned that, oh my gosh, she passed. She passed algebra because of Ned. And Ned, you know, has to play it cool. He's like, well, I guess my job is done. Unless. But he kind of like flips a coin real quick. He gets kind of mad at her. He's like, you know, I have feelings. You know, I like you, right? Because the whole point of Ned consistently being there for Cassie is to be more than just friends with her. That has been his point. That has been his prerogative. And this is where I say JR is the proper nice guy than Ned. Because he doesn't look at Cassie more than the I'm trying to obtain to be with this girl. Versus JR, where he's like, I'm trying to understand and learn more about her and respect the boundary that she wants to be at. But the thing is that Cassie kind of doesn't know fully herself. Like, she only understands that she wants them to both be her friends. But it's to this moment where she kisses Ned. But after they kiss, Cassie's like, hey, I gotta tell you the truth now. You know, I'm actually the daughter of Santa Claus. And this is what sends Ned over the edge. He just completely now believes she's bonkers, that she's crazy. When he was the same one who was like, you know, there's not enough weird in the world. I kind of like your weird. Oh, like what? And you can't just accept that. I believe some time passes on, maybe like a couple of days, because Jack Frost is back. And he's back to get an update on Cassie. Don't know why he just doesn't talk to his son, but okay. But basically, we're like halfway through the movie, and we need one more layer of drama to happen to send the conflict roller coaster just to the tip. Because theoretically, if she just lost Ned, she would have just lost Ned. She seemed mad at him, and that would have been great. That would have been fantastic. But we needed more conflict to happen. So basically, after Jack Frost meets with Ned, after a very useless meeting, Jack Frost decides to pull some prehistoric meme on Cassie and have it spread throughout the school, and it works. And that was to make fun of her and her elf. That's bullying? Yo, then the modern day bullying is terrorism. To which Cassie obviously thinks Ned was up to the meme and mockery of her, and time passes and they don't talk until the elf girl is like, oh my gosh, I could see how much Ned actually likes you. And you know, if Ned likes you this much, maybe he should tell her. If you love someone, tell them. And she's not wrong. If you do love someone, then tell them. But you know, if it's not like unrequited love or it's unnecessary and you're kind of hikey a stalker, then maybe not do that. But to further their love story, because we already know who the writers are for, he tries like one more time to tell Cassie, and you know, he's once again shut down by Cassie. But the thing is that JR invited Cassie to like the winter formal, and Ned, he comes up again. He tries again. And joke is, JR was proposing to Cassie at this formal. But the thing is that winter formal for JR is going to be a huge thing, because he decides to let Cassie in on the information and reveal to her that he is actually the person that she's supposed to be marrying. And she's kind of like taken aback by it. She's like, whoa, what? And then he gets down on one knee and it's like, I want to marry you. And from the thought process of his character, this kind of makes sense, you know. He doesn't want to marry her on the accord of, I will eventually see her and hope that we get along. No, he's going to marry her now because he's learned that he does get along with her. He has a lot of fun with her. So why not marry her when he actually wants to? And since this is the proposal moment, this has to be the climax. When Ned comes in and he's there to be like, no, don't marry him. I will fight him for your love. And all at the same time, he finds out, oh, that's the guy you're supposed to marry? What? You're marrying this basic broad? And because of Ned barging in and, you know, acting the way he does, Cassie actually is like, you know what? Stop the fight. JR, get on one knee right now and propose to me. I'm ready. And he does. And she says yes. Right in front of Ned. Take that, Ned. So after that, we cut back to Cassie being back home. She's in her wedding dress. Her father's all dressed up. Everybody's dressed up for the wedding. And, of course, her father could clearly tell that she is sad. She seems to be regretting this. She doesn't want to be married and all that stuff. And he takes it upon himself to ride all the way down back to the human world, back to the college, to scoop up Ned and bring him to the wedding. This is good father moment, but wrong character. But just before they get in the car, Mr. Claus is like, hey, read this huge stack of paper. Because, by the way, Ned is studying law. Anyways, Mr. Claus is like, find a loophole, me boy. We're going on an adventure. We're going to save my daughter. And when they get to the wedding, it's actually revealed that technically Jack Frost went against the paper, making the whole marriage void because he had tampered and discredited Cassie's name. So the marriage is off. Ned gets the girl, and it is a happy holidays from there. Honestly, I'm glad this movie is free on YouTube. You could watch this atrocity if you really want to. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like, subscribe, click the bell notifications to have a fantastic Christmas. I'll catch you next time.